Welcome, everyone. This is our very first, we're going out to the social channels live stream instead of asking for a registration. So hopefully you're finding us here on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. And if you find it later, we're glad you're here anyway. Today, we're going to be talking about a new way to sell. And this methodology I learned from my husband, who was a very talented NLP and hypnotist coach. He helped a lot of people transform their lives. And so his model of helping people to move into a sales process is all about transformation. And as I was watching some of the older videos in some of his sales trainings, I'm like, this is so perfect for coaches because coaches are uniquely positioned to help people transform their lives, to make changes. That's what we're here to do, right? So I am going to share that model with you, and hopefully this will help you have a lot more fun, uh, making sales. We're going to learn how to close and have fun doing it. We're going to look at sales and a new way. And let me get my slides perfect. Okay. So we're going to be thinking about sales and marketing differently because, the old way of sales is just, it's gone, right? You don't just get a lead and close the lead. And it doesn't really apply to coaching because what we're doing with coaching is establishing a relationship. We're establishing a partnership where you are there to help your client transform their lives in order to live a better life. Whether you are a fitness coach and you're helping people in the kitchen or in the gym, or if you are a business coach and your methodology helps people double their sales or increase their sales 40% in a year, whatever your pitch is for your outcome, you are helping people transform their lives. And coaching and sales really kind of go hand in hand. Selling really is your first job as a coach. It's kind of like a first impression in a relationship. The actual sales meeting is kind of like going on a first date. You want to know as much information as you can get about the person that you are getting into a coaching relationship with. You want to know about their experiences, and you want to show to them what it's like to be coached by you. And your job is not really to fix your client. Your job is to help them help themselves. And when somebody is in a sales process, what are they doing? They're making a decision, right? But they're not just making a decision about buying something. They're making a decision that transforms their life, that changes their life in a major way. But in order to help coach them through making that transformational decision, we have to understand who they are. We need to understand how they're motivated. We need to understand what it is that they're looking for in terms of their aspiration or solving their problem. If we don't understand who they are, it's kind of hard to guide them to the next step. Understanding how they're motivated is so core to this. We want to stop talking about closing sales. We don't want to focus on closing because that's literally going to lose you the sale. If you are focused on closing in a coaching relationship and you're just focused on getting the dollars into your bank account, it's not going to work. But if you focus on the client's transformation, the sale becomes the byproduct of the conversation. You create a relationship that is long lasting and helps you grow your business. Our job in sales is not to convince someone to give up their money in return for a product or a service. Our job is to understand and guide. In order to do this, we have to maintain our curiosity. Asking questions is so critical. Knowing where they are in terms of their thinking about the problem in their life or the aspiration that they have, knowing what it is that they think about on a regular basis when they're contemplating that problem, knowing what problems stem from that. Like if you are a financial coach and somebody is drowning in debt, that is going to affect their mindset. It's going to affect their relationships with their family members and even their children. It can affect everything. Understanding what all of those impacts are so critical when you're talking them through a sales decision. Sales is a dance of relationship building. It is guiding them. And maybe sometimes you lead the dance and sometimes you let them lead the dance, but it is not convincing them. It is a relationship of coaching. Now, I was watching a podcast with Robert Herjavec. He's the sharp-dressed Canadian man on Shark Tank, and he was talking about how sales was the most critical component of what made him wealthy. And he talked about what sales was to him, and it just struck me as a good model to consider. Good salespeople sell features, great salespeople sell outcomes, and truly extraordinary salespeople are actually selling a feeling. If you think about that in the context of, helping somebody who's drowning in debt, your program could have a budget. You could talk about all the features about what your coaching program can help them with. And the outcome is to be free of debt, right? But what is that feeling of freedom that they have when they get to the end of the month and they're not out of money and they're able to buy whatever it is they want? That's really what you're selling. You're selling a feeling of relief from their problem, a feeling of success and overjoyment because they've achieved aspirations. Those feelings are what are going to drive them in terms of their decision making. Now, let's talk about the prospects that come into your business. Uh, if you have 100 people coming in, 10% of them are probably never going to buy. They're probably just kicking the tires, so to speak, and they're just looking around. 10% are like ready to buy. They've looked at your marketing materials. They understand the impact that you can have on their life. And they're just like, take my money. You don't need to sell those people. In fact, as soon as you take the money, like, don't go through the sales process. There's nothing to sell. That was one thing that I learned in my early sales training is once somebody says yes, that's when you stop selling. And I would see people, they'd continue the process. Because salespeople, a lot of times, they really enjoy selling. So when somebody says yes too fast, they're like, but wait, let's talk about like why this is such a good value. It's like, no, you don't have to talk anymore, right? But so those 20%, the ones who are never going to buy and the ones who are walking in and take my money, you don't have to help them. But there are 80% in the middle who need your help. They need your coaching. They need your guidance in order to understand what transformation they're signing up for. Those 80% are the people that need coaching. When does the sale actually happen? Now, if you have a marketing funnel, you probably have people coming in as an engaged, where you're engaging a lead, and then you're qualifying those leads, and then you ask for the sale. Is that where the sale happens? Well, for those 80% of the people who need your help, the sale doesn't happen until you're closing. And closing, the ability to close a sale, the ability to hear no and still ask questions, that is the predictor of success in your business. If you're not closing sales, if you're asking for a sale, but you're not getting to closed, then your business isn't successful. It affects your bottom line. If you don't know how to close a sale, if you don't know how to coach someone through that process, your bottom line is going to be affected negatively. Now, what is sales exactly? And I'll make this slide just a little bit bigger. There's a lot of words on it. Sales is the transference of belief. Now, when I first started selling, I was a kid. My dad had a business. He was selling office equipment. It was a long time ago. I look younger than I am. He had these really cool typewriters that had a computer in them. And I was just geeked about technology. We had computers at home, and these typewriters had computers in them. And I loved showing them to people. I was excited about it. And I had beginner's luck because I wasn't hearing no. I was so excited and had such a belief in where technology was going and what these products were in terms of a stopgap for college kids who really needed a computer, but they didn't have, they only wanted to spend $200. And at the time, computers were so much more expensive. It was perfect for them because they were able to use all of this computing power without having to spend tons of money. I was excited about it, and I had beginner's luck. I didn't hear no a lot. And I was so excited about selling these tools, and it came through. I transferred the belief and the excitement that I felt about a typewriter that could act like a computer, that it worked. And I didn't doubt myself because I wasn't hearing no. But you start hearing no is in the sales process, and then you start to doubt yourself. And it's your job as a coach to really cultivate belief in yourself and your offer. When you hear no, that's really where your job starts, right? Because no's going to happen. Those 80% of people who come in to your business and need help getting to yes, you're going to hear no from them. And you need to believe in yourself beyond that no. And your job is to take that belief and transfer it to your prospect. Now, you need to provide proof, evidence, because they're going to have feelings, right? But you need to be able to back those feelings up with evidence, because what people do is they make a decision to buy something based on an emotion, based on how they're feeling, but they justify that emotional decision based on logic. And so you have to provide proof that it would be more unreasonable for them to not believe you than it is to believe you. Those justifications, that logic, that thinking process is what's going to stop a buyer's remorse. It's going to bolster that emotional feeling and give them greater conviction in the belief that you're transferring to them, that your offer and your product or your service is going to work for them. All right. They have to believe 3 things. They have to believe, in order to say yes, they have to believe that the offer is going to get them to their goal the way they want to go, that you and others in their life are going to support that decision, and that it's going to work for them and not just everyone else. Because you, as a coach, you probably have tons of testimonials on your website of all the times that you have helped other clients get to some transformational results. But that client that you're talking to, that prospect, has to be able to say, it's going to work for me too. It's not like, oh, well, that person just has a fast metabolism, or that person, was born with a trust fund, or whatever excuse that they have in their mind. They have to believe that whatever you have to offer them is going to work for them. And it didn't just work for other people. So they have to be able to see themselves in the outcome. And people want to buy. If they're talking to you, there's already some desire within them, right? They want some kind of transformation. They have some kind of motivation to make that decision, but something's blocking that decision. So you're going to hear no. If people could make the decision, they wouldn't need your help. They'd just send you the money. They'd be in that 10%, but that's not really where sales happens. No is the job here. It's your job as a coach to hear no, but to also understand what are the things that are feeding that no, and coach them beyond that. Coach them out of that no. Now, you're not trying to convince them. You're trying to coach them to an ultimate transformation of their life. And if they buy from you and have a transformation, great. If they decide, I could do this all on my own, I'm just going to go do it, it's going to be harder, I know, but you have to be happy for them wherever they are. You just want them to get to that transformation. Then you don't have the pressure of like having to have that sale. You have to genuinely feel excitement for a transformation that a client is teeing them up for. And your job is really to just help them cross the finish line or the goal line, as it may be. I've been watching a lot of football, and they talk about the red zone. My husband's really into football right now. The red zone, the end of the field, right? So if you're playing football and you're getting a lot of passes and downs and everything, but you don't get past that, last 10 yards, if you don't get into the end zone, if you don't cross the goal line, then it's not really a sale, right? What does your bottom line look like? What does your day look like if you are spending all your time having these sales conversations, but you hang up when you hear a no? If you are not the coach on the sidelines trying to help the client get the ball across the goal line. See, this isn't about you. Sales is never about you. It's not about your product. It's not about your service. It is about the prospect. So communicating to them that it really is about them, that you are there, that the entire sales process is really about helping them solve a problem, helping them get to some kind of aspiration, helping them get out of debt, out of, unhealth, like if they are like severely overweight and they are like, okay, it's time, I need to be able to do this, or my business is faltering and I really need help, whatever pain they have that has brought them to your door, embody the coach's mindset of you want to help them stop going up and down this field without any results. Because most of these people, people when they have a problem in their life, they're coming to coaches when it's like, I everything I'm doing is not working. I know I need help, right? Last year, I was well, I kind of got dragged into it with my daughter. She wanted to get in shape, and I'm like, "Dad, $10 for me to join this gym? Yeah, I'll just go get it, sit on the treadmill. It's makes more sense for me to get on the treadmill while she's here than sitting in the car." And then I started talking to one of the fitness coaches, and I got sold. If I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it? And I got coached. And going through that process changed my life. It changed everything about me. It transformed me. Now I'm working out at home. I don't need coaching. I've gotten myself to a point where I know what to do now. But I needed a coach to get me transformed. And that coach was great. You could do it on your own. You'll be fine. But wouldn't you rather just like jumpstart this and get it done faster? Like, sure. And you know what? Sign my daughter up too, so she's got proper form. So that's how that sales process went. It transformed my life. And that's what we need to do with coaching, is help people make the decisions. They're still going to have to do the work, but help them be the coach on the sidelines so that they can get across the finish line. And you need to be happy with whatever decision that they make. If they find their own personal power, be happy either way. That takes, that takes the pressure around sales off, because the goal is to help people, not to sell them. They are paying for you then to give them the attention to be the coach on the sidelines. Now, objections are the core of what a no ends up being. It is the core, really, of blame. They're looking at something outside of themselves and saying that something else is more in control of making this decision than I am. They might blame circumstances in their life. They could blame other people, or they could just blame themselves and say, I can't make a decision, where they're really avoiding something. Ultimately, it comes down to fear. Most of the time, when we're not making a decision to move forward in our life, it comes down to a fear of change. Our job is never to argue with an objection. In fact, we have to agree with the objection. We have to agree with where they're at, go in there with them, hold their hand, and walk them out of a place where they are disempowered, where they are actually enslaved by a block that is stopping them from transforming their lives. So that's our job as a coach. And when we start dealing with objections, we are dealing with, they can be categorized into three main places: circumstances, others, somebody else has the authority to make this decision, I don't, or sometimes it's themselves. But what we really want to do, circumstances are kind of like the outside of the onion, and we want to peel things away, because once you deal with like a time objection, you're one step closer. You start dealing with money objections, and you're one step closer. Start dealing with fit objections, and you are yet another step closer. We want to get to the core of the individual, to the core of the person that we are trying to help, because when we're there and we're just talking about them, they're more empowered, right? Because if they're blaming something outside of themselves for the situations within their life, they are not empowered. Time has the power. Their spouse has the power. Something outside of them has the power. And our job as coaches is to help people find the empowerment within themselves so that they have the freedom, the flexibility, and the power to change their lives. So it's going to happen with or without you. Eventually, they have to claim that power, because that's the nature of who we are as human beings. But your job as a coach is to peel away those layers and get them back to the place of empowerment. So here are some common time objections. They'll say things like, it's not a good time of year to start this. We've got tax season, or I can't start my fitness journey now because, the holidays are coming up. Or they'll say something like, I don't have time in my day. I don't even have time for a coaching session, let alone doing the work that I know is going to be required for this transformation. I'll do it when I have more time. They punt it into the future somewhere. Or they'll convince themselves that I don't need this right now. I'm okay. Like me, you know, being a little bit pudgy and overweight and saying, I'll just sit on the treadmill. I don't need this right now. Yeah, right. Little did I know. All right, so let's deal with some of these time objections. So the good news with seasonal objections, this is what you can say to them, but you have to ask them some questions about what exactly is going on, right? What's making them so busy? Because you need to meet them where they're at. But really, we want to talk about the busier they are, it's actually the best time for them to start a coaching program. Because if you are really busy, you need to maximize your attention, maximize your output, maximize your time. So if you do it when you're seasonally very busy, think about it. If you're starting a fitness program right in the middle of the holidays and the holiday parties and panettone and all of the goodies, and you start now and you can control yourself now, think about how easy it's going to be in the dead of winter, February, when there's really nothing good going on. It's going to be so much easier because you dealt with it head on. So you can deal with a time objection that is sort of seasonally based in this way. For I don't have time in my day. Well, that's why you need coaching. If you don't have time in your day, but you have to meet them where they're at first, right? So you don't want to just argue with them and say, actually, I know you have time. Let me see your phone. Let me see it. I want to see what you're spending on social media every day. You don't want to necessarily do that. But here's something you could do is say, yeah, I used to think I didn't have time for fitness coaching. I didn't think I had time at all. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. But actually, I took my phone and I looked at it and I saw how much time I was spending on Facebook. I had time. And if I don't take time now, what's my life going to look like in the future? So put yourself in the objector's shoes. You can make yourself vulnerable and talk about a time. You don't even have to make up a story. You can talk about an actual time in which you thought the same thing. You had the same logical fallacy in your mind. You don't want to call them logically thinking falsely, but that's what they're doing, right? That's all an excuse is. If they really want the transformation that your coaching program offers, they're going to make time, right? Time is just going to be malleable, right? We have way much. If something's a priority in your life, you make time. You find a way. Because after I went through that coaching process of learning to lift weights and everything, now if I don't work out, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Everything has shifted because I went through that process. Using stories of your own where you have had a logical fallacy and show the prospective client how their thinking is blocking them can be incredibly helpful. And coaching actually helps you find a lot more time, right? Because you learn about all of the shortcuts. You learn because what you're doing when you hire a coach is you are actually saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I want this transformation. Give me all of the lessons you learned the hard way. It's a transference of knowledge as well as belief. So you are shortcutting a final destination by getting coaching. So you actually save a lot of time. So that's one way of dealing with that type of objection. So if they say something like, I don't have time, I'll have time in the future. You can say something like, yeah, I used to think like that. That kept me stuck for years. And then talk about a particular situation where you put something off and how you look back and all the opportunity costs, all of the things that could have happened if you had gotten in shape faster, all of the things that could have happened with your business if you got things done better, how much more money you'd have now if you had gotten out of debt earlier. Use your own stories because that can help you sort of model to the prospective client how to make that decision that we are coaching them through. All right. So once we peel that back, we've got the time objections out of the way. We are one step closer, but we still are hearing, no, it's too much money. I can't afford this. Or I'd rather save the money. Now, there are ways of dealing with these types of objections that are pretty easy too. So if they think something is a lot of money, actually spending your money on something that's important to you can actually transform your whole life. I'll share a story I have a 16-year-old daughter. She wants to buy her own car. Now, she wants to buy an expensive car, and I'm just looking at her like, "What, are you crazy?" But I'm going to let her just kind of go through this process. She wants to spend her own money that she's working for, and she wants to buy her own car. All of her other friends have had cars gifted to them from their parents, but she wants to buy her own car, and she's got her heart set on a particular model. And I was talking to a friend of mine who said when they buy something themselves, they actually take more pride in it. Now, all of her friends have had fender benders. She's had a fender bender with my car, but I digress. They have all kind of smashed up their cars. But my friend was telling me she's probably going to take care of it much better if she spends her own money. And isn't it true? When you spend money on something, when you buy, a new car, it's like, okay, I'm going to park far away from everyone else. You care about that thing so much more. You are personally invested in that thing. So you are going all in. When you spend more money on something, if you spend money on coaching, it is investing a part of yourself in your outcome. So you're actually going to be much more successful. If something's too much money, if it feels like it's too much money, that might be a sign that it's time to go all in. You can also compare an investment in a coaching program to learning something the hard way, right? Compare it in terms of its relativity. If you are a business coach, think about how much money you would spend if you went and got a business degree and learned all of this stuff over 4 years. Be spending what, $50,000 going to a university in 4 years of your life? Actually, you're spending a lot less money now and a lot less time to get all of these shortcuts. In that way, the investment makes a lot more sense. And honestly, people are going to spend money anyway, right? They're going to spend the money on something. And if you're going to do this program on your own, why not spend money on shortcutting the solution? Because they're going to do the thing anyway. Eventually, we all have to get in shape. Otherwise, we have it gets harder, right? That rock bottom feeling happens whenever there's a problem. And sometimes people have to hit that rock bottom. But by shortcutting it, by investing now in coaching, you bypass that rock bottom and you get to that success much faster. I also heard somebody talking about resourcefulness. Now, you probably have had a time in your business where you have had an unexpected expense. Taxes come due, and oh my gosh, it's a little more than I thought it was going to be, but I have to pay it. Or the electric bill is super high. Something comes in out of nowhere, a car crash with the teenager. Money comes in, or demands for money come in, and we always find a way, right? We move money around, we use a credit card, we find a way to pay for things that are outside of us. But do people have the resourcefulness to take care of themselves? How often have you put something on a credit card in order to take care of something? You found a resource, right? Why not be resourceful in investing in yourself? Um, there's a story about Nike where they were going through some business difficulties, and they actually convinced their vendors to pay payroll, because the vendors, if they did, I just think this is so crazy. The vendors aren't going to have a company to sell to with Nike if the company goes out of business. So that was their resourcefulness. Um, if you really want something, if you really want a transformation in your life, you will find a way to be resourceful for someone else. Why not be resourceful for your dream? So you can use a story like that to basically showcase how people can find the resources. And then also, there's also kinds of opportunity costs, right? If you are helping somebody grow their business, why would they want to put it off for another year and have 40% less sales? Why not get the 40% right now? Investing now in the business is going to make a lot more sense in the future. Fit objections. I'm not sure this is going to work for me. I can see all your testimonials. They all sound great. I can see all of the other people, but I just have a slow metabolism. I'm never going to lose this weight. They don't see themselves in the program. They can't see their new identity. They can't see their new priorities. It's your job as a coach to figure out how to help them see their new identity, help them understand their next priorities, because we vote with our dollars and our time on what our future is going to be. And they need to envision that future and decide what it is going to be. Their current priorities aren't aligning with their new identity when they're saying no because of a fit. And sometimes they might say, I see a lot of broccoli on plates in your meal plans, and I just don't like broccoli. They might say something like that. And you can just switch it. Well, maybe do you like something non-cruciferous? Maybe green beans. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, well, that program can fit for you. But people need to have a new identity that they can invest themselves in. And the only way we can really get them there is to ask a bunch of questions about what it is that they potentially see. They're going to basically have two options, right? What does their life look like if they go with the program? What does their life look like if they don't go with the program? If they don't go with the program, they're basically where they are now. If they do go with the program, they are going to be, I'm sorry, I was reading a comment. They are going to be, if they do go with the program, they're going to be something completely different. But you have to ask questions and guide them to the picture in their own mind of what that is going to look like, because everybody's going to have a different view of what that looks like. You have to ask questions to guide them to that place. So we get fit out of the way, and now we're getting a little bit closer. We're getting down to authority objections. So I need to talk to my spouse. Now, if it's a big program, you might want to have the spouse involved, right? They should be there as a part of the sales conversation. I'm not sure my spouse is going to approve of this, or my boss isn't going to go from this. But what are they really saying? Are they saying their boss is going to say no? Are they saying their wife or their husband isn't going to say no? Their partner is going to say no? Or are they saying, I imagine that my husband is going to say no? Because it's really all in their head. Authority objections are rarely about what the authority is going to say, but they imagine themselves as not being powerful enough to make the decision and have support from the people closest to them. It's not really about the spouse at all. They need to realize they don't need approval. They don't need permission. They also need to realize that what it looks like if the roles are reversed. Let's take a fitness coach, and a guy goes in to get fitness coaching and is like, I don't know if my wife is going to like this. That's imagined, first of all. But what happens if the guy really does want to get in shape and he imagines his wife saying no? Well, 6 months from now, he is going to actually resent his wife. It's a game we play in our heads, right? Like, I really wanted to do this thing, but I imagined in my head that you would say no, and now I'm mad at you for it. And it's all unconscious, but it's our job as coaches to help them realize what they're doing, right? That first of all, it's imagined. You can put yourself into their shoes and say, wow, yeah, I was going to do this too, and I was scared my husband was going to say no. I was scared. Actually, I was scared for about 3 years about buying a new car. Even though I had all the money to do it and I knew what I wanted to buy, for 3 years, I was like not making a decision about what it was. And then I finally decided this is what I want. And I imagined in my head that my husband wanted to be part of the decision. I imagined in my head that he would not approve of it. And then I went and test drove a car and I was like, I really want this. And I called him on the phone and he's like, read me the numbers. And I had this sinking feeling in my stomach and he was okay with it. In fact, when I brought the car home, he's like, this is such a great car. I'm so glad you bought this for yourself. It's all a lie that we end up telling ourselves when we are blaming someone else close to us. But you can always have, 30-day guarantee, go home, talk to your spouse afterwards. And if it's not okay, we'll sign you up today. Talk to your spouse. And if it's not okay, you can always get out of it. But I bet your spouse is going to want to support you. You can tell a story, put yourself in those kinds of situations and showcase how you got yourself out of a blocked situation. All right, so we got the spouse out of the way. Who's left? Now we are at the core. They've got no one left. Now they have to take responsibility. But a lot of times people don't want to take responsibility. They'll say things like, this is happening too fast. And actually, like somebody walks into a gym and they're getting signed up for coaching and they're like, I didn't even, this is happening too fast. But really, has it? How long have you been out of shape? How long have you wanted to make the decision to transform your life? Not necessarily to get coaching, but the decision to transform your life, to make more money, to get in shape, to get rid of debt, to have better relationship, whatever coaching model you have, this works. They've wanted something for a longer time than the day you start talking to them. It's not really happening fast. So we can get rid of that objection because it isn't happening fast. They've wanted this for a long time. Remind them of that. Now, if they say they need to think about it, they don't need to go home and think about it because they're going to go home and Johnny needs a ride to soccer and they've got dinner to make and work needs there's other things that are going to take their time. You don't need time to think. What do you need to think? You need information. And it's your job as the coach to find out what information they need in order to think, in order to make that decision, because nobody needs time to think. You want to think because you don't want to make the decision. You want to go for a walk and contemplate it. It's an avoidance technique that we all use, right? So have them make the decision with the information and you be the source of that information. Now, another thing that happens in coaching a lot is I've bought so many programs that have not worked for me. But what ends up happening there? I've bought so many cars that, a couple of them didn't work out for me. Does that mean I stopped buying cars? Am I being held hostage by a bad decision? And there are many types of coaches out there. Not all of them are going to be perfect for you, right? Not all programs are going to be perfect for everyone. But are you going to let making a bad decision in the past stop you from making a good decision now? Because then you're giving power to the bad product. You're basically getting burned twice, right? You're getting burned by the bad program, but you're getting burned by not making a decision to transform your life right now. And it's not necessarily about buying this program. It's about making a decision to transform your life. And if you want my help, great. I'm here for you. I want to be here for you. I'm here to cheer you on. But if you want to do it yourself, I'm just here to help you make the decision that's going to transform your life. How's that for getting rid of that objection? And maybe they've had conversations with other coaches and they keep saying no. You can always ask them, have you talked to other coaches and said no to their programs? Maybe just those are not because of the programs. Maybe indecision is the problem, not necessarily a program, because you can do what you need to do right now. You can go home if you're in debt and go research how to set up a budget. You can go home and research how to do the thing that you need to do. The entirety of human knowledge is on the internet. You can go take a course that is going to last for 6 months to teach you whatever it is you need to know. But if you don't make the decision now to do it, it's never going to happen. Or it's going to happen when you hit rock bottom and it becomes so painful you have to make a decision. Do you want to make a decision based on what you want and what you want to move towards? Or are you going to wait until life pushes you to make a decision? Because eventually you have to make the decision. So maybe that indecision is the problem. Are you getting tired of almost getting to what you want, getting to the 10-yard line and not getting to the goal line? How much has it cost you in the past to not take this action? How much regret do you have that you haven't made this decision yet? Whew, that felt heavy. All right. Now we get down to confronting the decision making about your program. You have to ask them, do you believe that this will help you get what you want? Hopefully they say yes. If not, you need to ask more questions. Do you trust that I will help you get to the goal line? And do you think this will help you? And if you get yes to all of those, they're ready. And then it's your moral obligation to help them find the way, because the only thing that's blocking them, really, all of these are just excuses. These are all just different manifestations of a fear of change, a fear of transformation, a fear of making their lives better. So we want to help them make an informed decision, because people, like I said before, people buy on emotion, but they justify those decisions based on logic. So ask them, make this just a little bigger. What future are we killing off? The future with the problem still there, or the future with the new aspiration achieved? What does their life look like in 5 years if they don't make the change now? Or if they do? Either their life is going to be amazing and they're going to feel a lot better, and they're going to go home to a closet of clothes that everything fits. That happened to me last year. I was like, wow, I don't have any clothes that don't fit me. I don't know if that's ever happened in my life, but it's happened now. Results. Or are you going to go home and put on your favorite pants and then, they're going to Goodwill? Paint the actual picture of what they're going to look like, what their life is going to look like. Actually ask the questions where they paint the picture for themselves, and that's even more effective. Remind them, and I'm reminding you, you are not going to struggle forever. By making a decision, you can fix things now. You can make money faster. You can lose the weight. You can get out of debt. You can get your freedom back. You can transform into the person that you dream about being, rather than the person who feels that they don't have the power. But all power starts with a decision. And then ask them if making that decision will get them closer or further from their goals. When they get there, there's no excuses left blocking our power. And this is a little motivational for you. It's not just about transforming our clients. It's really about transforming you too. Because when you transform yourself into an effective salesperson, you're doing the work. You're doing your work. You're finding your own power too. You can't, have any blame. There's no thing outside of you that has control over your life, more control than you do. You are the decider. You are the empowered one. You are the one that gets to make decisions, because the blame and the excuse, pointing at something and saying, this is the reason why I have to experience this, is really enslavement. And I don't think that's what, not to get too religious or anything, but I don't think that's why we were created. We were created as a model of power. And by changing your mind and changing the way you see things, changing the way you think about things, it transforms everything. And as coaches, that's our job, right? That's our job, to help transform people into empowered states. People become more powerful by making decisions rather than letting life make decisions for them. And of course, we're investing in ourselves. We're buying experience. We're buying skills. We're buying that shortcut where other people have made mistakes, where other people have had to learn hard lessons. We are learning from their lessons so we don't have to go through the hard stuff. Let's talk a little bit about motivation code here, because motivation code, all of these sales conversations, when you are in a closing experience, all of these sales conversations are getting to know the customer, getting to understand who they really are, what it is that they value. And when you understand what they value, how they buy, then communicating with them is so much easier. Now, I want to take one of the motivational dimensions and just kind of give you an overview of what that looks like. So, one of the motivational dimensions is an achiever, and they really value performance. They want to see performance metrics. They want to understand competitive advantages. They want to know that when I go through this process, if I lose weight, people are going to recognize me. They're going to say, "Oh my gosh, Kathy, have you lost weight?" They're going to be recognized. They're going to be recognized for their achievement. "Oh my gosh, you lost so much weight. Tell me more about what happened." Those are things that are important to them. They're also super interested in premium, exclusive kinds of features. So you have to listen for words that they say, and then you know that they are an achiever. We are going to have a special live stream with the CEO of Motivation Code, Chris Lemma. It is going to be April 8th. And you can sign up for that. I'm going to pop this up on the screen so that you can see the link a little bit bigger there. If you go to coachfactory.co sales-live stream, you can sign up for that. But he's going to go through all of the motivational dimensions, and he's going to talk about how you sell to them, because these conversations are so much easier when you can dive deep into what matters for each of the motivational dimensions. You can dive deep into what each prospect is experiencing. And then it's almost like, oh, this Kathy's speaking my language. I understand this so well. This is exactly where I need to be. This person understands me. This relationship is going to work for me. This program is going to work for me. And it's going to work for me. It's a fit for me because I'm hearing all of the things that just make me feel right. And they might not be able to enunciate and, extrapolate on all of that, but they'll know it. And people remember how you make them feel. They make decisions based on how they feel. So you need to be able to get at that. So join us for that. It's April 8th. We'll probably send out a mailing on that from Coach Factory. So if you are a Coach Factory VIP, you would definitely, let's see, do I have that as a banner? I don't. Sean, if you're here, you can drop that in the chat, or I will have that for people who are coming later. That will go down below in the description box. We will add a link down to coachfactory.co. Get on our mailing list, become a free Coach Factory VIP member, and you will be notified of all of our live streams as they come up. All right. I want to talk just a little bit. We only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about M-Code certification, because this is really incredible for coaches, especially. Not only getting my brain's working too fast. Not only does getting certified as an M-Code certified coach help you better help your coaching clients, it helps you get that intuitive feel for what someone is motivated by just by talking to them. You understand all of the different motivations and you hear the key words coming out. It makes you better at sales, makes you a better coach. It also has a ton of other benefits in that you get referrals from us for impact sessions to help other people understand their M-Code assessments. There are two different levels of motivation code certification. There's the certified M-Code coaches, and then there's executive coaches. So you can sign up for either one of those. But I know it is a big decision. If you have questions about that, you can book a call either with me at zant.com/VIP. Just book me and I would be happy to talk to you at your convenience. Or if you want to talk to the executive director of Coach Factory and the guy who's basically certifying all of these coaches and knows what's going on with this program more than anyone, you can book a call with Sean. And there is his link, Sean Heskett /chat. I have talked too much in an hour. I can tell that that is happening. And then join our Facebook group as well. I will just want to pop that up. We do have a Facebook group where we're having discussions about the coaching business, and you'll get access to all of the Coach Factory free content there as well. It's just a fun way for us to get connected. And of course, you can get your own M Code report if you have not done so. The light report is easy at $19. You can use Coach Go and get 25% off of that. Because when you know how you're motivated, when you know what really lights you up, it really gives you some understanding about what your sales process looks like. And Chris is going to talk about this on that April 8th live stream as well. But knowing who you are changes how you sell, because it changes how you coach. It changes the decisions you make on a daily basis. It gives you the freedom to say, you know what? I'm not so good at project management. I'm going to hire that out. And I'm really good at working with my clients. And it helps you lean into where your expertise is. Coaching is just as much a personal journey of growth for the coach as it is for the person being coached. And you, as a coach, need to continue to do work on yourself. If you're not doing work on yourself, you can't bring more of yourself into those coaching conversations. So, Motivation Code is an exceptional way to continue to do that work on yourself. So, thank you so much for joining us. If I have any questions, I have just a few minutes left to answer them, but I'm not seeing any in comments. But if you are watching or you're watching this at a later date, I am so happy you were here. And we will see you next time on the next Coach Factory live stream. Thanks so much.